If you're in your first enlistment, these are the 5 investments you need to start making right now. And this is coming from a veteran who went from broke to millionaire in 5.5 years. So let's go. The very first one is your thrift savings plan. You will be able to sign up for this on day 1 at recruit training, boot camp, whatever you guys want to call it these days. You can put money into this. And as of 2020, if you join after that, which you're watching this in 2025, so obviously you did, you are in the blended retirement system, which is a different retirement program than old school, which means you get a matching contribution. Meaning, once you've been in the military for a little bit, the contribution picks up. It starts at 1% at year 2, it goes to the full matching, which means if you put 5% of your thrift savings plan, the military will match with an additional 5%, which is a guaranteed by the government double on your money day 1. You can't beat that anywhere else, and then it'll continue to compound. So for every $50 you put in, you get 100. Now this caps at 5%, yes, but that's still awesome. That means if you put 20% in, it counts as 25%. You put 40% in, it counts as 45%. I was putting 60% into my TSP on my last year in the military. It counted as 65% of my pay, which is awesome. Now I will say this because I will get this question, no matter what fund or whether you choose Roth or traditional for the TSP, your matching contribution will always go to the traditional side. So if you put 5% into Roth, your matching will go to traditional. If you put 5% in traditional, your matching will still go to traditional. So it'll just be 10% in traditional. Personally, I would choose Roth as a young enlisted service member, but you should do your own homework. The long short is with Roth, you pay your money in taxes now and not on the back end. And with traditional, you pay it not now, but on the back end. So if you think you're making more money now than you will in retirement, traditional is probably the way to go. And if you think you're making less money right now, which arguably as a young enlisted service member, probably true, then down the road, when you're making more money and you'd be in a higher tax bracket, you won't have to pay those taxes, which is why I like the Roth. With the thrift savings plan, you could either do all your homework, like go read the book Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins and research the funds and decide on what fund allocation makes the most sense for your specific, goals and risk tolerance. Or you can just put it in the life cycle fund that correlates to the year that you turn 60 or closest to the year that you turn 60 and let it ride. That is the simple way to do it. Yes, you can out-earn the life cycle fund by doing it on your own, but if you're not going to do the homework, just do the life cycle fund until you're willing to do the homework and choose the funds that best fit your situation. Number 2 is debt pay down. When you join the military, you are basically financially free. Like, you have to work to not be. And I know it's not like recurring income for the rest of your life, you're financially free, but what I mean is you are set up for success. Any debt you had prior to the service, cut to 6% with the Service Member Civil Relief Act, your SCRA benefits. And so take advantage of that and pay it down as quickly as humanly possible. Get out of debt if you have any. Don't take on new debt if you don't have to. And then by staying out of debt, you can take all of your income and reinvest it into things like, yes, your thrift savings plan, which you can increase the percentage on, a VA loan. You don't have to put any money down, but you can take all the money from house hacking, which is the way that I use a VA loan. We'll talk about that. And you can reinvest that into other real estate assets, index funds, IRAs, money market account, like whatever, to help compound and achieve financial freedom. Debt is the thing that ruins the financial success for most service members. So avoid it at all costs. Now, I'm not talking about mortgage debt, but like bad debt. Like, don't go get a $50,000 cool kid car at 20% interest until you're making enough money that it makes sense. If you've watched any of these videos long enough, you've probably realized I'm saying this as a guy who owns a 2025 C8 Corvette Z06 that cost $160,000. I also am at a point where $160,000, for one, I put a huge amount down on it. And for 2, my finances more than support that car right now. So I got to earn that. Now, I've put in, for anyone who's not been around forever, I sold my S2000 that was my baby. It was my dumb financial decision, but it was my baby. When I got into real estate, I sold it, bought a duplex. And I sold my truck to help with that duplex. And I sold my Harley to buy my first duplex. So for my first 2 duplexes, the down payments came from toys that I had bought that I probably shouldn't have. And then I rolled that money until eventually I was able to buy the Corvette, right? On top of being totally financially free and having, millions of dollars worth of net worth and all that stuff. So I say this as a car lover. I get it. I see you, I understand, and I promise you that if you wait and you buy that car when it won't stress you out financially and you buy a nicer car, it's worth the wait. So don't try to be the cool kid guy. Don't take on all this exorbitant credit card debt and auto loan debt and whatever. Be smart up front, because early on, every dollar you invest at a younger age is worth more than the money you invest at a later age due to compounding interest. So take advantage of now to set yourself up for more down the road. Number 3, emergency fund, right? You should have a little bit of cash set aside. Now, I understand you could just swipe a credit card if you don't have any credit card debt and then pay that down, and that would be your emergency fund. That's just not the ideal way to do it. You should have at least 1 month set aside for like all of your monthly costs. So whatever you spend in the month, set that in a savings account over time so that you have it there if shit hits the fan. And then eventually you should try to build that to a 6 or 12 month reserve. So if it costs you $2,000 a month on all your expenses, then you should save $2,000. And then eventually you should save $12,000. And then eventually you should save $24,000. And then eventually you might get to the place where you look at your bank account and you're like, holy crap, that's a lot of cash to just have sitting here. I should do something with it. And then you don't, because it's your emergency fund. That really sets you up for success for weathering storms. And there will be storms in your life, right? It cost me 6 figures to get divorced, multiple 6 figures, not a fun process. I had not budgeted multiple 6 figures for that divorce. I had to go into debt. Then I spent a year paying off all that debt. And now I'm budgeting multiple 6 figures in emergency because you never know. So just set yourself up for success. Have an emergency fund. It is not fun. It's not sexy. It's not going to build you billions right away, but it will give you the comfort to sleep at night knowing your financial situation is at least relatively set up for success. Number 4, advance your career. This one gets slept on a lot. In the military, you get 3 types of pay raises. You get, well, aside from like all the special duty pay and you know, dive bubbles and jump wings and all that random, you get 3 main pay raises. Every year for your first 4 years, then every other year while you're in after that for time in service, and then you get your time and grade bonus every time you get promoted. And then, yes, there are bonuses and there's all these other things, but those are the main, like, we know they're going to happen across the board pay raises. Getting promoted is a larger pay raise than just hitting the next year. They're both great, but getting promoted is a larger pay raise. And if you can get yourself promoted on the very first day you're eligible for promotion instead of dragged out for a year, that means that over that year, you'll make an extra couple $1,000 depending on which promotion, right? The first few promotions, it's a couple $100 a month. Not like the most sexy thing in the world, but as you get promoted, it quickly becomes an extra couple $1,000s a year added to your top line by doing your job. You're already there. You're already working those hours. So why not get paid more for working those hours? And if you can get meritoriously promoted, then that's even better because it just crunches that timeline even faster. And every month, like let's say it's 1 month early for one rank, then it's, you know, like assuming you got promoted a year early meritoriously, then that means you would then subsequently, assumption, get every other rank after that a year earlier than you would have. And that will compound to tens, if not $50,000, $100,000, probably more than hundreds of thousands of dollars over the time that you are in the military. So if you do a full 20 years and you bump your sergeant promotion from 5 years to 4 years, then every single promotion after that is a year earlier in theory than it would have been, which is going to save you or earn you an extra significant amount of money over the same 20 years you were in the military. So put in the work, run, fitness, you know, your educational stuff, your range, whatever they count towards your score. In the Marine Corps, it's fitness, it's, you know, MCIs or Marine Net classes. In education, like college education, it's your rifle pistol score, it's your swim qual, it's your McMap belt. It's all these random things that go into a points program for promotion. And then it is your promotion reports or your fit reps, which are geared towards how well you do at your job, which is the huge part here. If you're the go-to guy, you're dependable, you're the person people think of when there are problems that arise or tasks or, and I don't mean problems that arise like you're the person they think of because someone married a stripper or got a DUI. I mean, you're the guy who they go to when like, hey, this broke or we have an inspection coming, we need you. Like, then you're going to get higher marks. You're going to get promoted faster. And I will tell you as a guy who I got contract PSC E2 for being an Eagle Scout. I was promoted on the very first day I was eligible to Lance Corporal, the very first day I was eligible to Corporal, and I was meritoriously promoted to Sergeant. And I got to Sergeant at 3 years, 2 months in motor transportation, which is arguably one of the slowest promoting jobs in the Marine Corps, which then put me to the point where I got promoted to Staff Sergeant ahead of everybody that I had gone to boot camp with who was in my MOS, and most of my peers who I went to MOS school, in fact, all of them. And then I got promoted to gunny faster than 99% of them as well, which means, again, I got sergeant pay for like a year or two longer than most of them. Then I got staff sergeant pay a year or two earlier than most of them. And then I would have gotten gunny pay a year or two earlier, faster than most of them, but I got out and got in the reserves. So I did get promoted again, and just clarify, did get promoted to gunny, but it happened like the month after I got into the reserves. So, you know, mute point as far as active duty because I transitioned out. That said, don't sleep on promotions at your job. They really do help you crunch this timeline. And number 5, you guys all know what's coming if you follow this channel for a while, VA loans. I made the vast majority of my net worth and my passive income through real estate investing. through house hacking. I've done that 3 times. This house is a house hack. The upstairs is an Airbnb. I rent it out. It pays for everything. I use the downstairs as my office, and I live in a tiny home in the back. I live for free in this house. It's a 6-bedroom, 3.5 bath, 4,400 square foot house with a 4-bed, 2.5 bath upstairs, and a 2-bed, 1-bath downstairs, and a hot tub and a tiny home, and my 3 dogs and their little fence, and it's great. And it pays me to live here, including utilities, including internet, including the fact that I have a Tesla and I charge my Tesla on those utilities. And I have a home gym in the garage. And this is a pretty sick setup. My first house hack, I lived almost for free in, and then it paid me when I moved out. My second house hack, I actually rented the place, and I rented bedrooms out, and it paid for myself to live there, and I pocketed all my BH. Long short, if you can buy either a 2, 3, 4 unit home with a VA loan, and you rent the other units and live in one, or you buy like a 4, 5, 6 bedroom house and you live in one bedroom and rent the rest, then you can live for free. You can pocket your BAH. You can get the tax benefits of real estate investing. You can get the benefit of the property going up in value over time with appreciation. Your tenants are helping you pay down the mortgage, and you can take all the money you would have had to spend on housing, whether that's base housing, rent, mortgage, whatever, all the money you would have had to spend to live somewhere, which is your largest living expense, and you can pocket it to save and reinvest. Then that will help you achieve financial freedom faster than just about anything else you can possibly do. And I've got a ton of presentations on this, but long short, let's assume that it was going to cost you $2,000 to live somewhere, and you did that for 2 years. You house hacked, you live for free. That saved you $48,000. When you move out, that one makes you $500 a month. If you do that 3 times, so by the time you move into your third house in year 6, or your third house in year 4, and then by year 6, the maths on this, if you've done this right, you got $180,000 that you saved on money you would have spent towards rent or mortgage at $2,000 a month. And you can be reinvesting that. It doesn't have to sit there earning no interest. It can earn interest. Like, there are a lot of very real benefits to you doing this and compounding that and turning this 180 grand into a lot, like $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in a 6-year period that you wouldn't have had. And you didn't really have to do any other work. You just changed where you lived. It's not that hard. There's some management stuff, but you can hire a property manager. So using your VA loan correctly is huge. And I'm going to drop a QR code right here. If you'd like an introduction to an agent or lender that's in our recommended network, they're almost all service members and vets, but they're all people that have actually been I've talked to them, we vetted them. They actually know what they're doing. They're really solid. Like, for example, my buddy Tobin, he lives in the DMV area, and every single person he's ever helped buy a house, he has paid them a piece of his commission. So you actually will walk away from the closing table. I'm not guaranteeing this, right? I'm never going to guarantee, because this isn't my business. This is his business. But very, very, very likely that you will walk away from the closing table buying a house with money in your pocket. You didn't have to put anything into the process. And you put a little bit in and you get it all back, right? And that's really cool. That's huge. And I've got tons of agents and lenders across the country. They don't all do that, but they're all awesome. And some of the lenders will guarantee you up to a 14, 17-day close with the VA loan. If you're saying that's not possible, I promise it is. I've seen it done 1,000,000 times. Well, 100 times, Having an agent lender who understands what they're doing and actually cares about you is the most important piece of this puzzle. So if you're on the fence about buying a house, or you're thinking about doing it, click the QR code, scan the QR code, and just talk to one of them, right? It doesn't hurt anything. And they are all very knowledgeable people who can point you in the right direction. All right, so these were the 5 investments that I would absolutely suggest you make as a young service member or vet. I would also suggest you do this. You should read my book, The No BS Guide to Military Life, which is everything that I wish I'd known when I first joined the Marine Corps. This is everything. I didn't learn about money until I was 7.5 years into the military. I had been really dumb with my finances. I could have been a lot worse, arguably, but I had not been smart with my money. And in the 5.5 years after I learned about money, I went from broke to millionaire. And so if you do this in the first enlistment, you could be almost or all the way to millionaire status very quickly, because you'll know all the things that I had to teach myself, because there wasn't a resource like this when I was doing this. So I created it to help you guys out. It talks you through your TSP, getting promoted, special duty assignments, transitioning out of the military, documenting all your stuff and filing your VA claim, your VA loan, all different kinds of investment strategies. And it's just a good overall overview of the things that I really wish I'd known when I joined, and they will help you achieve your goals. So check it out. You can download it for free on that QR code. You can also go to Amazon and buy the physical copy if you prefer to read physical books. It's also on Audible if you just want to listen to me narrate it to you. And yes, I narrated it myself. So check it out on your favorite platform. I love you guys. I hope this helped. Comment down below A, what the best tip you got out of this was, or B, if you've got a tip that you think will help young service members that I missed, please throw it in the comments. Let me know so that we can hype it up and make that like we might even pin it, but like make it a good comment on the channel. And then just know that I love you guys and I wish you the best. Have a great day.